Alrighty, everyone, welcome back. It is Friday, which you know what that means. It is time for our news of the week for November 8th, 2024. First off, thank you guys so much for the support in our last video that we did. Our first one did pretty good, so hopefully we can kind of build on that and continue into this one. We got a lot of news to talk about here. I filled up nearly 2 pages worth of notes to talk about, so this will be a pretty fun one here for you guys. But we're going to start off with a trade, and this is a much smaller trade than the previous 2 that we covered. It's more or less a minor league trade, but it's something that we kind of saw was going to happen at some point. The Philadelphia Flyers acquired defenseman Ben Grayson, who is on a 1-year, $775K deal, which ends in 2025. He had 4 points in 7 games played with the Bakersfield Condors before coming to Philadelphia. And in exchange, the Edmonton Oilers acquired defenseman Ronnie Attard, who was on a 1-year, $850K deal, which expires at the end of the season, and had 0 points in 7 games played with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms in the AHL. So, these are more or less 2 minor league defensemen. They really aren't that big of players. I don't think either of them are going to be NHL impact, except maybe Ronnie Attard. Attard might make that Oilers lineup because of how weak that blue line is in the bottom pairing and in the second pairing as well. There may be a good chance that he does get some ice time in there, but at least as of right now, this looks more or less like a minor trade. Nothing really too huge to really talk about. It's a very minor deal that, it's not huge whatsoever. It doesn't really have much of an impact. It's just a 1-for-1 deal with depth pieces, essentially, to be honest with you guys. There have been some signings around the league, though, that I think we should follow that up with. There was one that was a regular signing, then an entry-level contract. So Tyler Johnson, he was on a PTO with the Boston Bruins for a while. He has now signed a 1-year, $775K deal with the Bruins. And the part that kind of sucks about making these videos on a Friday after a week full of news is because Tyler Johnson's already played a couple games since this signing happened. The signing happened on Monday, I think, so the very beginning of the week. But Johnson had 31 points in 67 games played last year with the Chicago Blackhawks. And it's pretty surprising that he went that long without a contract and was still on a PTO with Boston, honestly, well into when the season started. So that was a little bit surprising for me that he lasted that long, but at least he's signed to a big contract now. The rumor's been there for a while, but it was never really official. It is now. The Bruins get a good bottom 6 piece, and I think that, even though so far he hasn't looked that great, I think it's going to really benefit the Bruins in the long-term run. And it's a league minimum deal. So if it doesn't really work out, then you can kind of just let him go. Like, it really does not matter that much, to be honest with you guys. Another guy who was signed a entry-level contract is Grayson Sullivan with the Florida Panthers, signing a 3-year entry-level contract. He has 20 points in 11 games played so far with the Edmonton Oil Kings in the WHL. He was previously a 2023 draft pick by the Florida Panthers. So that's another good signing. You see Sullivan, he's putting up good numbers in the WHL with the Oil Kings, and you look at the Panthers prospect pool, like, they just won a Stanley Cup. Their prospect pool is not that good. When you don't have a good prospect, when you are a good team, you don't really have that good of a prospect pool because all of your guys have graduated. But seeing somebody like Sullivan off to a good start in Edmonton, it is in Edmonton. You just got to say that, I think that give him a chance. Maybe with Charlotte, maybe give him some NHL time. But, I think it's good for the Panthers to kind of get something locked up there and get another player under a deal. So good for Sullivan. Congratulations to him because, getting an ELC in the NHL is very difficult. And now he just kind of got, even though, it's only, probably, a league minimum deal, kind of similar to Johnson's, it's still life-changing money for a kid like him. So pretty impressive there. Congratulations to him. The injury list, and it's a long one. It's a pretty long list that we're going to talk about here, and there's a little bit of an update that I need to make, so I'm going to need to cut out here for a second. But Philip Broberg is out 4 to 6 weeks with a lower body injury for the St. Louis Blues. It sucks because Broberg started off pretty good for the Blues. Again, he was offer sheeted with Holloway, which Holloway we'll get into in a second here. And he actually looked good in the games he's played, but now he's going to miss some time. Probably going to miss the rest of November and likely into mid, if not late December, is when we'll probably see Broberg return. But overall, it sucks. It definitely stinks for somebody like him who seems like he's already found himself a very established role with the Blues, and now he's kind of just out of the lineup. His other teammate, though, Dylan Holloway, suffered a pretty scary altercation in a game against Tampa on, I think, Wednesday. So Holloway took a puck to the neck, and he had to get stretchered off the ice and went to the hospital. Now, he is okay. I don't know if he's going to miss time. He's probably going to miss time, but he is okay, is what I've heard from people. So thankfully, there's nothing really very serious there, especially when you have to get stretchered off and go to the hospital. There is a lot of worry there, but thankfully this time around there was nothing serious, which is great to hear, and it's just kind of been a bad week for the offer sheets so far, so not a very good week for them. In other news, Auston Matthews has been placed on injury reserve and will miss the game on Saturday against Montreal. Has already missed the game on Tuesday against Boston and the game on Friday today against Detroit. He has already missed a significant amount of games. He's going to miss a little bit more time. But this comes after Craig Berube said, quote, he's going in the right direction. And I saw that quote and I wrote up my script and then I kind of went to go take a break. And then I came back and looked at Twitter and I saw that he got put on injury reserve. And I'm like, what? How does that correlate? You like the direction, but he's going on IR? I don't really get how that makes any sense. Connor Dewar has been activated off of LTIR, I believe. So on the bright side, he gets somebody else back in returns. That's good for Toronto at least. But losing Matthews is definitely going to be a rough move. He's going to miss at least the next couple of days, at least the next 2 or 3 games. So hopefully Toronto can be all right without him. They did beat Boston. They have some relatively easier competition next couple of games, so maybe they can just kind of, ride through it, but we'll see. We'll see there with Auston Matthews and the Maple Leafs, but I think they'll be okay. The New York Islanders have some news. Matt Barzal and Adam Pelech are going to miss 4 to 6 weeks with upper body injuries. These are huge losses for the Islanders. Huge. You lose Barzal, arguably your best player behind probably Ilya Sorokin in net. Barzal had a really good year last season, was really hoping that he could get back to that 80-point mark this year that he did last year. And Pelech, good top 4 defender. So you lose 2 pretty key pieces there to this Islanders roster, and they already are struggling as it is. Now, the weird thing is they beat Ottawa last night, so I guess, that kind of just, doesn't correlate. But overall, I just think that it's going to suck to miss those guys for sure. And, the Islanders, if they want to turn this around, it's going to be a huge climb. It's going to be a pretty big climb. Thankfully, this happened earlier in the season and not in April or March when you're trying to get into a playoff spot, or in April when you are in the playoffs. So we'll see where this goes. But again, they're probably on the same timeline as Broberg. They might not be back till December. So let's see where that goes from here. That's it for the negative stuff with injuries. The positives, McDavid's back. McDavid, I talked about last week saying that he was going to miss at least the next 2 to 3 weeks. Well, not even a week later, he is back. He played last night against Vegas. I don't know the stat line exactly, but he is back. That guy's insane. He's unreal, and I think that we know that already. He comes back from injury so quickly, whether he's fully healthy or not. He will come back. He does not care whatsoever. And then also, too, Macklin Celebrini's also back as well. He came back this week, too. He actually scored 2 last night against, I think, Minnesota. So Celebrini already making that Calder race look a little bit closer now. He's already back, and he has, 3 goals? So that's pretty good to see. And he might make himself a big push here in November. So that's exciting to see if you're a Sharks fan for sure. So those were some positives that I saw from injuries. Some guys that returned, at least as of right now. I might be missing someone. If I am, let me know in the comment section down below. Again, it takes a while for me to write up all these stuff and look at all these research and do all this. So I may have missed someone. But if I did, let me know in the comments down below. In other news, a few things to look at here before we get into the rumor mill. The PWHL jerseys have officially been released, and I like these. These are selling for $130 on their website. I think that I'm definitely going to get a couple of these for sure. I want to try and get all 6 of them because I'm a big collector guy and I love to collect jerseys. But I'm going to try and aim to get the Frost first since they just won the championship. And then I'm going to try and go with Charge and the Spectras and a few of the other teams as well. I want to get all 6 of them eventually, but again, I'm not made of money. So if you want to help me make that money, subscribe down below. I really appreciate that. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to make me money. But regardless, I like the PWHL jerseys a lot. There were some people who were saying they're pretty mid, but I think they're all pretty nice generally. So yeah. I mean, I already put a pic on screen, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. An interesting announcement here in between the CHL and the NCAA, and it's good news for, I would say, the CHL and the NCAA, but it's bad news for those lower leagues in Canada and America, to be honest with you guys. So, the NCAA approved CHL player eligibility for Division I hockey. And this basically means that it's a new rule where it allows players from CHL teams, that being the QMJHL, the OHL, the WHL, to go and play in college. Now, let's say, for an example, hypothetically, if Jet Luchenko of Guelph wanted to go and play with James Hagens in Boston College, he can now do that. Now, obviously, there's things you got to work out in there between that, but before then, you weren't able to do a thing like that, and now you can. I don't know if it's the other way around. I don't know if someone like Hagens could go and play with Porter Matone on Mississauga, or they're not even Mississauga anymore. They're somewhere near Mississauga, but I'm just offended a whole city of people. But hypothetically, I don't know if it can go that way, but again, I know the other way works, and I think that's actually pretty awesome for the players. For the lower leagues, though, it makes things a little bit worse because, there are going to be players who play in even like the United States Hockey League or the BCHL or the AJHL or the OJHL, and they're going to see like, oh, these colleges are open, they're going to go play for these colleges, and they might get a better look than they would be, let's say, they're playing in the BCHL or even the USHL. The USHL seems to be producing pretty good draft picks at this point, but I think they're still in danger with this new rule coming out. So it's good for the players, it's good for the bigger leagues, but it's bad for, I would say, the lower leagues in Canada and the US for sure. So we'll see where that goes. I could be talking out of my butt. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below on that if I am. Sorry. I'm an American who knows nothing about the Canadian Hockey Leagues talking about this, to be honest with you guys. One more thing here before we get into the rumor mill. I got a few pieces there, but the Winnipeg Jets have made some history. They have become the second team in NHL history to win 13 of their first 14 games to start the season. The only other team to do this is the 2007-2008 Ottawa Senators. So, pretty cool milestone there for Winnipeg. I mean, this is a team that just looks insane. They look like they're unstoppable. They're winning every single game. They're winning in shutouts. They're winning in overtime. They're winning in regulation. They seem to just be winning everywhere they go. And it's pretty remarkable how good they look so far. Hopefully they can keep this up, though, because, again, I've seen in previous years this team go off to really good starts, and then they just fall off in the second half of the season, or they fall off and miss the playoffs. But they've been on a pretty remarkable stretch, especially since, like, the end of last regular season, carrying into this regular season. They just look really good, and I'm saying that wearing a Wild jersey. So, a lot of credit I got to give to the Winnipeg Jets. They look absolutely terrific right now. Absolutely terrific. Now, let's get into the rumor mill. So, I got a couple pieces here. Some of them are going to make you laugh. Some of them are going to make you be like, oh, that's interesting. There was a few of these that I got from Puck Empire. Some of these I got from some articles that I read, so credit to him and these other articles. Again, when I do these, I will be putting the credit of the person, of the source that I got this from. But the first one I kind of talked about in my video yesterday with the Nashville Predators, but I'm going to touch more base on it here. The Predators may look to begin the rebuild plan if they continue to lose. And this is per Barry Trotz. This isn't per like Elliot Friedman or Pierre LeBrun. This is per the GM himself, Barry Trotz. If this team keeps losing, which I think they're 4-9-1 right now, if they keep losing, then they may start their rebuilding plan, which is pretty crazy of a turn to go from a team that made so much money and so much moves in these free agency signings they did and go a complete 180 to a rebuild. And I think that, again, I said it in my video yesterday. I said that this is an old team. This is an old team that we're talking about here, and it may take them a little bit of a second to get up and get started, and get their engines moving, I guess. But I don't know. If they keep losing and keep digging themselves a hole, I don't think they're pulling at Edmonton Oilers. It's a pretty huge climb to do that again, and they don't have a McDavid or Draisaitl on their team. So, again, I know we keep referring to that, but it's just the most recent example. With Nashville, for me, I feel like they have the pieces to come back from this. They just need to come back from it soon. and very soon. The thing is, though, is that they have a relatively difficult schedule so far in November. All of the teams they've played so far have been playoff teams, one of them being the Stanley Cup champion, the Panthers, the other being like the Avalanche. They did beat the Avalanche, but regardless, again, this team, if they get into that rebuild plan, are they really going to be able to do that? That's the other question that I have. They have so many of these players that they just signed on these pretty big contracts like Stamkos and Marchessault and Shea. Like, I don't know if you can move those. You're going to have to eat some money if you want to move those, especially now. Like, if they were on, like, 1-year deals or, like, even, like, a 4-year contract, some teams will bite the bullet on that, but they're all on 7-year deals, I think. So, it's going to be a pretty difficult thing to do to kind of tear this team down, so you might be stuck with this. And I think that they probably will turn it around, but again, doesn't look good for Barry Trotz if they go from what they did to a complete 180 and a rebuild. So we'll see if that does happen. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but interesting things going on in Nashville. Some news around the Montreal Canadiens. The Canadiens do not plan on firing Marty St. Louis anytime soon, per Eric Engels, pretty credible source. I like Eric. I think he does a lot of good things with the Canadiens. I read some of his articles. He does a good job. I would say there's no surprise. Again, I said this in a few Canadiens videos and on the podcast that I do, that I just think that there are some fans in Montreal that are kind of overreacting at the fact that this team hasn't been taking a massive step just yet. They're in a rebuild. They're in, year 3 or year 4 of this rebuild? I would say year 3, hypothetically. You don't come out of a rebuild in 3 years. Unless if you're like the Rangers and you just get somebody on your lap like Panarin. Credit to Friedman for that thought, because honestly, that was a pretty good thought. The Rangers were rebuilding, and then they got Panarin, and the rebuild was over. Unless you get something like that, unless if you go and you get McDavid in 2026, and that's not going to happen. But hypothetically, if that happened, then yes, your rebuild's over. But your rebuild is far from over right now, I would say. I think you need to develop these young players, develop the young pieces, and get more of those young pieces, to be specific. You have a lot of good guys coming up, but you need more. You can always have more for sure. Now, I believe that they will get out of this soon. They may be pretty good next season, be better, maybe not make the playoffs, but maybe come close. I just don't know if I can see them making the playoffs this year in year 3 of a rebuild. It just does not happen that quickly. It doesn't happen that quickly no matter who you have on your team, honestly. So, again, I see the frustration. Believe me, I've been there. My teams haven't made the playoffs since I started making YouTube videos, apart from the first year I started making videos. But, again, you just got to be patient. Now, there have been some things that I have seen with St. Louis, that he's playing older players over the younger players, which is definitely a critique you can have. I don't know if they're going to fire him. I don't know if that's a fireable offense, is what I meant to say. I don't think they're going to fire him anytime soon, unless if, they really don't improve. But I think overall they're going to be okay. I think they're in an okay spot right now where he's not going to get fired. Next season, if they struggle, then maybe you may see that happen, but obviously we'll find out. Per Anthony DeMarco, now I got a few things here from DeMarco. One's serious, one's going to make you laugh. Trevor Zegras is still reportedly available for trade, but they are looking for a high price. The Anaheim Ducks are. So I don't blame them for looking for a high price, because honestly, you wanna get the most you can out of him. But his stock is pretty low right now, especially since to start this season he has looked not that good. He only has 1 goal through the first 10 or so games. So, again, Zegras' value is really not there just yet. I don't think they're going to trade him anyways. Unless if somebody goes out and gives them, a first. I don't think it happens, in my opinion. But I've been wrong before. I just don't think it's worth it right now. His stock is not really that high. If Zegras is off to a hot start, then I could see it. But I just don't think right now his stock is high enough to warrant a trade necessarily from another team. So that's kind of how I view it. Again, could I see him getting traded maybe next offseason? Sure, I could really see it. But right now, I don't think so, to be honest with you guys. This other one from DeMarco. The Flyers are reportedly not saying they are. They may ask for a first-round pick for Rasmus Ristolainen. And I really chuckled at that one because For those of you who do not know, I am wearing a Wild jersey, but I'm a Flyers fan at heart. I am. And you can see my Flyers corner back there. I need to do a tour at some point. But when I look at the Flyers, we signed Risto to that pretty awful deal. I think he has 2 or 3 more years left on that contract since we signed it. I would be shocked if we got a first-round pick for him. Now, again, I know the defensive market is very shallow. You got like Rasmus Anderson, and that's it. But I feel like if we could get a first for Ristolainen, my mind would be blown. I don't think we could ever do that. I don't think he's good enough of a defender and getting paid too much to really warrant a first-round pick. Now, again, I think he's looked okay so far since playing in Philadelphia. Under Torts' system, he's looked better than I thought he would. But, again, first? I don't know about that. But, again, maybe the market is that dry where teams will give you first for Ristolainen. But I would be shocked. I don't know how credible that is. That's Anthony DeMarco saying that. You guys can, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below if you believe that is really credible or not. The next one is why I am wearing a Minnesota Wild jersey. Kirill Kaprizov's next contract could be in the realm of Matthews and Draisaitl. Now, for those who do not know, Matthews and Draisaitl are 2 of the highest paid players in the entire NHL right now. Now, first off, Matthews got signed to that big deal last offseason. Draisaitl got signed to his big deal this past offseason. So, Matthews 2 offseasons ago. But Matthews, I think, is on a 12.5 or a 13. I'm not 100% sure. And Draisaitl just got signed to a 14. So, we're talking probably around $13 million for Kirill Kaprizov on his next contract. I'm kind of shocked by hearing that, but I'm not at the same time, because you see these rumors of Kaprizov maybe wanting to go play with Connor Bedard in Chicago. You see those rumors, you do. I think that, to be honest with you guys, it doesn't surprise me that it surprises me and it doesn't, because first off, I don't think he really should be paid that much. But again, like, you see those rumors, and I think that they're going to fight heaven and earth to keep Kaprizov in Minnesota. You saw him carry the Wild even this season, in past seasons. I mean, like last year, they weren't really that good until the second half of the year. And Kaprizov, still put up like a 90-point season? Still put up almost 100 points? And I think that he has just been unreal since he's gotten to Minnesota. He was a steal in the 5th round. They are in cap hell, but once they're out of cap hell, they are going to fight like hell to keep Kaprizov in Minnesota and not keep him from going to Chicago or some other place. Because if they lose him, they're in a pretty bad spot. Kaprizov is your cornerstone. He is the cornerstone piece of this Wild franchise right now. And I think that if you need to keep him, you are going to have to be willing to pay that price. Whether or not you agree with it or not, you're going to have to. And it puts Kaprizov in a pretty big advantage, because he could sit down and be like, I want 13.5, and you'd be like, okay. So, again, that is something that we're going to have to be keeping an eye on that throughout the coming weeks and months. I don't think we'll see a solution to that soon. I don't even think he can sign a contract just yet. But, again, it is something we need to keep in mind for sure. Now, I got 2 more pieces of news here for you. We're going to start off with this one. From Kevin Weeks, it's reported that Igor Shesterkin and the Rangers might be closer to an agreement, and it looks like the number of the AAV is going to be 11.5. Now, if you guys remember before the start of the season, I think on opening night actually, they offered Shesterkin, the Rangers did, a 8-year, $11 million deal. And Shesterkin said, no, I'm turning that down. That would have made Shesterkin the highest paid player in NHL history. The Rangers are now willing to go a little bit higher than that at 11.5. And I think that's completely fair. I think that's completely fine. I think you go any higher, and I think you're kind of into a pretty high territory. You're already in a pretty high territory, because, if he gets that contract, he is the highest paid goaltender in the history of the NHL. He's way higher than Carey Price for sure. I think $1 million more. So, again, I see the argument for him getting more, but I think if Shesterkin and the Rangers really want to build a contending team, he's going to need to agree to a number that's at least below 12. At least. If Shesterkin really wants a cup, if he's in it for the money, then just go for it. But Overall, it seems like 11.5 might be the number, but again, we haven't seen any more following on that since Kevin Weeks kind of posted that rumor and then a pick of the New York skyline. So, he loves to tease fans like that. But I love Kevin Weeks; he's a great guy. But regardless, something interesting that I thought we would put in this one too. And then finally, not really that big of a one, but the Utah Hockey Club are working on trading Michael Carcone due to a lack of ice time, per Corey Wilkins. Interesting news there. We saw Carcone on the Coyotes last year. He shot at a pretty high shooting percentage. So far, it's been a little bit of a struggle for him this year. So I don't blame him for trying to get some ice time. And again, that's a deep lineup for Utah. A lot of young players. It's a deep roster. And I think Carcone wants to get more of an opportunity. Where he's going to get that, I'm not sure where. Probably somewhere like Chicago or San Jose or somewhere like that. I don't know if he's really an NHL-ready player at this point. Again, Arizona, he did play well up there, but Arizona wasn't that good, to be honest. And now that Arizona has more guys coming over from, their prospect pool, I think that you're going to have to maybe make a move out some guys at some point. So we'll see where Carcone goes from there, but I thought that was something interesting to pick up there. And that is it for your news of the week. We did that in 26 minutes, so nice little 26 minutes news around the league there for you guys. Thank you guys for watching to the end, if you guys are here. If you guys did enjoy, please like and subscribe down below. I would greatly appreciate that. And comment your thoughts on the news and rumors and whether or not you think what I said is true or false or whatever you want to say. But regardless, thank you guys very much for watching. And for those who just tuned into these, I'll see you next Friday.